and get this started. So enjoy the next run.
Typically people have less issues with OBS, but no volume.
Yeah, I have VLC and I use it for Streamlink. I just figured it'd be easy, but I'm not gonna.
I personally prefer the VLC as well.
Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to Final Fantasy Randomizer. My name is Edgestream, and I'm here with Files.
Greetings.
So, earlier we set up a straw poll in chat and asked chat to give us a... Yeah, we asked chat to give us a quick forced class, and as chat tends to do, they gave us Thief, so this ought to be interesting. Although
Why am I not surprised?
with the current meta, it's not too bad. Let me just do some quick audio adjustments, and we can get ready to start. Alright, I think we're about ready to go. Files, how are things looking on your end?
Things are looking great.
Alright, sounds good. So we can get ready, and let me start a 5-second countdown. We'll go on 1, or go on 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So, first thing we like to do in the Final Fantasy Randomizer is check out what's in the old black magic shop, because thinning out a giant herd of monsters with a early AoE spell is always nice.
And we got one. Fire 3 is great.
Yeah, so let's just go and beat up those 5 imps with a chance to strike first.
And before we get too far in the nitty-gritty here, it's definitely worth kind of going into the specifics of just kind of what the randomizer is for those of you who might be new to a randomizer. You might have already noticed that walking into that black magic shop, we were seeing a bunch of really powerful spells for sale that are not normally at that rank. And one of the things that is randomized in the Final Fantasy Randomizer is the spell shops. Any crazy spell shuffle to level 1. In this case, we got lucky and got Fire 3. So Edge just mowed down all those imps with a spell he would not normally have yet, but we have access to thanks to the randomizer. White Magic looking pretty good. Cure 3 is good to have, as is Heal 2. More spells you would not normally find at rank.
I'm going to pick up Ice 2 with my eye on using it in Volcano. I'm also going to pick up some Chain Armor for the Red Mage as well. And let's take a look at the item shop, and it looks like we have very cheap tents, and because of that we'll get... appreciate the follow, whoever that was. I will figure out how to turn those stream alerts off in a moment.
Well, in the meantime, while you're doing that, I'll vamp for you. So one of the things that we like looking for in the randomizer is access to saving items like tents and cabins and houses and what have you. And one of the reasons for that is, in addition to spell shops and item shops being randomized, the enemy encounter table is also randomized, which means that if you're a follower of Guy or anyone else like Diesel who used to run this game for speedruns, you can't really manipulate the encounters in the randomizer the way you can the original game until you get a better feel for how the encounter table has been randomized. So one of the nice things you can do on the overworld is, if you know the beginning of the encounter table is very empty or full of monster encounters, you can use save skills or save points like tents and cabins to kind of work your way around fights. And we'll get into that more later though, because Edge just found the floater in Temple of Fiends, which is really nice. That's one of the other things that has been randomized in the Final Fantasy Randomizer. So in addition to shops, spells, and enemy fights, and enemy skills and spells, the most important thing that has been randomized, I would say, is what's in all the chests. And there are some items that we absolutely need to beat the game that are in a random chest somewhere in the game. So in addition to trying to find really good weapons and equipment, we're also going to be trying to find items that are required to beat the game, like the TNT or the crown or the slab or other things. So even though we have the floater this early, we can't even get to the desert to get our airship quite yet until we progress further in the seed and get more awesome items. Think you're gonna be able to knock down Garland with Fire 3 yet?
Alright, give me 1 second. We're gonna remove this scene. Apologize.
That was a nice mixture of Final Fantasy 6 and Link to the Past logos, my friend. Well done.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Probably should have removed that scene earlier, but I think that should be taken care of right now. So we have the loot and the nice bridge to get us to the rest of the world, and in this section of the game we're looking for where the TNT is, because we still need to have that canal built before we can get anywhere else in the world.
And while we're on our way to Provoca, which is the second town, we're going to be checking Matoya's cave, because there's a few treasure chests in there. So we're hoping for more important items like that TNT Edge mentioned. But we have to be a little scared, because any encounter we find, since everything else is randomized, the spells and skills that enemies have are randomized too. Which means at any point, Edge could run into a Gerwolf or a creep that starts casting like Lid 2 on him, which would be ruinous if we had to save. So there's a lot of saving in the Final Fantasy Randomizer.
Alright, so...
Oh, and he gets a ribbon!
Yeah, we found a ribbon, and apparently I have that on multiple scenes, so please don't follow until after the marathon, or after the race.
But the ribbon, one of the best defensive items in the game. It gives you a paltry 1 defense, I believe, but the most important thing it does is it gives you resistance against pretty much every element in the game, which will become very important later on in the game when we're trying to beat all the bosses that have randomized instant kill spells, and there are a lot of them in the original Final Fantasy for the DS. And I'm actually really impressed that you have managed to continue progressing through the seed as fast as you have while trying to take out stuff in OBS, so well done. Truly, you are the master of this game. See, now in this case here, we have an iguana casting slow. Iguanas do not normally have slow, so that instead of a spell that ultimately is kind of not too dangerous, it could have been a lot worse. So, ooh, and Fade available in level 2 magic shops. That is the kind of holy equivalent of the Final Fantasy 1 game. So I have a feeling Edge is going to go back and pick up Fade for his White Mage, and probably his Red Mage, since Red Mage can learn every single spell in the White Magic shop at level 2. So with Fire 3 in Magic Slot 1 and Fade in Magic Slot 2, we're going to have a pretty easy time. We got a little lucky here with our magic for these first early game packs, because they're just going to all get mowed down to the awesome power of Fade.
Files, would you mind giving an overview of the flags that are being run for this?
Oh yes. So, like many randomizers, there are a lot of options that we call flags that you can kind of turn on or off, or adjust how exactly you want the game to run. And as a community, we'll turn on and off flags depending on what our whims are, how difficult we want the race to be. What Edge is running right now is, I would say, kind of a pretty average, kind of medium, kind of marathon safe average. So the flags that we're running right now, I previously mentioned that all the treasure chests are shuffled. That's kind of the trademark of the Final Fantasy randomizer. So we got all the treasure chests shuffled around. All the enemies in the game have their spells and scripts and abilities and status attacks shuffled around, which means instead of having a Stone Touch Medusas later on in the game, you might have a Stone Touch Imp or a Stone Touch Wolf or Ogre. And we already talked a little bit about the spells and scripts that are shuffled around a little bit. The flags that we have on for this seed include shuffled regular shops and magic shop levels, which we've already seen. We talked a little bit about the encounter table being shuffled. And as far as difficulty goes, enemy stats can be shuffled anywhere from 50% to 200% in this particular version of the game, which means that bosses could have twice as much hit points as they have normally, or half as much hit points as they have normally. So that also includes for every single stat. So you could have a boss that has half the health, but has twice the attack power, making them a dangerous class cannon that you have to fight. Of course, knowing our luck, we'll get a boss that has 200% everything, and it'll be awesome. And then the last important flag to talk about here is we have what's called the Experience or Gold Boost turned all the way up. A lot of you might remember that the original kind of vanilla version of this game is kind of a grind fest. Perhaps lovingly so, but it is definitely pretty grindy. So there is a 5 times multiplier here, which means that any enemy group you kill, you get 5 times the golden experience from them, plus a pretty significant flat boost as well. And then another thing you'll notice in the randomizer here is that a lot of the menu, screen transitions, and battle animations have been sped up. That's just something that we added called speed hacks that make the game play a lot faster. So you can get an average seed done anywhere from hour 40 minutes to 2 hours 15 minutes. Makes the game pretty fun to race, and just fun to play. And speaking of fun, was that Life 2 I just saw in the level 3 magic shop, Edge?
That it was, but we're a little short on cash, so I'm gonna have to get that after I dip into the marsh cave.
So, because we have not found the TNT in any of the random chests so far, that means the only chests left in the game that we can check and have access to are in the dreaded marsh cave, or ambush cave as we like to call it, because boy do you get ambushed a lot in that cave. So Edge is kind of prepping for his journey. He's picked up a few items, grabbed a few spells, and most importantly, grabbed pure potions.
Hey, I didn't get ambushed by these guys.
That's impressive. What are these guys, like a 70-80% ambush rate?
I think it's the 40% bias, but it's still it's what the thief in the front row can do for you.
Very much. The reason he has the thief in the front row is because the original game, I think the ambush or run chance was a little bit glitched or bugged. But one of the things the this randomizer fixes is a lot of the kind of coding glitches in the original game. So by putting the thief in the front slots, his high agility and high luck create more opportunities to avoid ambushes and get your own first strikes. So at this point, Edge is going to be heading toward the top of Marsh Cave. Just keep an eye, or remember that we are still keeping an eye out for the TNT, which we need to blow open the hole in the cave to allow us access to the rest of the game. So he's probably not going to take a lot of these spikes because there's a high chance he might have to reset once he gets to the top here, and TNT might not be there. Oh, ambush cave.
And the dreaded shadows, it just doesn't matter how high level you are. They are very likely to ambush you.
Aren't they in the 90% ambush rate range for low-level parties? Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I think so.
You get ambushed by some... You could have, like, a max level, grinded out, level 42 guy in the front of your party, and you'll still get ambushed by shadows outside of Earth Cave. It's hilarious.
And there's some bad luck there. He went flew right into that hallway that I wanted to go.
You'll just have to wing it around the other side. Ooh, Zeus Gauntlet. You gonna walk it out, Edge?
I think so. That is going to allow the thief to contribute in fights.
For those of you who are not aware, if you use the Zeus Gauntlet as an item in battle, you get a free cast of Lit 2, which is pretty nice. It gives the thief something to do in these fights early game where he's otherwise kind of useless except for running away. On the downside, that means you don't have a free excuse to reset. At the top of that, you gotta walk it out and get re-ambushed by shadows again.
I'm also pretty hard up for money, and though it's very likely that those chests in the bottom floor will have some money, every little bit helps.
Yeah, there's all those juicy, delicious spells that need purchasing in Elfland. Elfland is weird because it's the one town that has level 3 and level 4 magics inside of it. And those are often spells you want to pick up early in the game. You can't sleep in a floater, Edge. No matter how hard you try.
The airship certainly seems like it's big enough. Come on. It worked in Final Fantasy VI.
That's so true. You could sleep inside the big whale, too, in Final Fantasy IV.
So while we're at it, you want to talk about link chests?
Oh, yes. So, there are a few chests, and you'll notice that there is technically an item in that upper left part of the map that Edge just walked by on this floor. But some chests in this game are what we call link chests. There are no empty chests in Final Fantasy I, there are only linked chests. So that means that I don't know the exact coding specifics, but I believe some of the chests' sprites are linked to one another. So if you open one chest in one part of a dungeon, it is just like opening another chest that is linked to in another part of a dungeon. So we can take advantage of these, linked chests that we know about and pick up the one that's the most convenient for us and leave the other one for nobody to check. And turn 1, action 1, fade means we don't have to worry about what spells or abilities those wizards might have had. That's true, chat is reminding me that Gaia does have level 7 and 8 magic. That is very true. Another town later in the game that has two ranks of magic, but they're so late in the randomizer they're not often quite as useful as Elfland, unfortunately. Alright, we're running out of chests where TNT can be, so we gotta be coming up on it pretty soon.
It is always in the last place you look.
In this case, literally the last chest it could possibly be in. And there it is. So there is our TNT. So we will be taking this out to Narek the Dwarf, all the way back around through the world to Dwarf Cave.
Grey Wolves have paralysis touch, so I'm very glad that I decided to take this fight.
And there were a lot of them, so that could have gone very poorly. If all those wolves had decided to attack different party members, we could have had a stunlock situation where these wolves were tearing apart his party. But luckily, Edge decided to use some of those fate charges. So good work on that precog, Edge. I'm gonna need to know what the winning lottery numbers are coming up pretty soon here.
Believe it or not, it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow, that's the kind of thing an idiot would put on the combination to his plugin. Spaceballs, anyone? Right. So outside of Stun Touch Wolves, we haven't seen a whole lot too crazy here. It was just the slow iguana, I think, was the only other thing. The end of Marsh Cave would not be complete with one last shadow ambush. I would have missed it if it hadn't happened. Alright, so you're seeing Edge using a lot of saving here. Oh, imps have gaze. That's more paralysis.
And the ambush compelled me to reset because generally, if an enemy has a spell list, I don't want to see what's in the next slot. So, like, those iguanas with slow very well could have Ice 3 after that.
Yeah, or Nuke, or Bane, or something else awful. So that's why Edge is saving all the time. He's kind of picking and choosing his fights, picking fights where he'll be able to get a lot of kills, a lot of gold and experience easily, while exposing himself to the least amount of damage. So hopefully we'll have enough gold from all those fights that we picked in Marsh Cave to pick up the spells in here that we wanted. Lit 2, not that exciting.
Question in chat, why do we have infinite tents? That's just a bug in this version. The tents are not infinite. The total just doesn't display for some reason.
And I'm sure Entroper will be working to squash that bug quite shortly.
So I have Invis 2, but not a lot of money, and
Ooh, those are some pretty expensive spells right there.
yeah, I think that's definitely worth picking up. Might be a little short on healing potions, but that's not gonna be too terrible. Because
You
I
might
can
luck
pick
out and healing potions might be for sale in present.
We'll see how much that Great Axe sells for, because no one in my party can actually use it. Well, that wasn't so great.
The least great axe. They shouldn't rename that mediocre axe.
I think it's kind of sarcastic at this point. It's like, when you see that axe, it's, oh, great.
The meh axe.
So since I can't see the number of tents that I have, I'm just gonna stop off in Canaria and pick up a little more.
Regardless of how many you had or didn't have, you were probably gonna buy some more anyway. Especially considering how cheap they are. Alright, so one last save. So that's the unfortunate thing about having the TNT all the way in Marsh Cave, is that it's a pretty long hike back to the Dwarf Cave to turn it back in.
You want to talk a little bit about the item menu and its relation with not being able to rearrange it?
Would you like to explain why it looks like I don't know how to menu files?
Pretty much.
Yes, so the original Final Fantasy, you kind of get used to all the luxuries that you get in the later Final Fantasies, like 4 and 6 and what have you. But in the NES Final Fantasy game, the item menu was immovable, which means as items got placed into the item menu, you cannot rearrange it at your will. So things like you kind of depend on the location of to be fast at, like healing your party with heal potions, curing poison with pure, or saving with tents and cabins. Every time you find a key item, or get a sock potion for the first time, or find the adamants, your item menu gets shuffled around a little bit. So it's definitely something you have to keep your eyes open. See, like right there, we just gave the TNT to Narek the Dwarf, so Edge's tents moved again. So it's definitely a skill that runners of this game have to get used to, is learning how to position your item menu and being fast at adjusting the changes. If you're really good, you can remember that you turned in the TNT, so you know everything's going to shift one over, and you can kind of prepare for that. Man, that's really hard to think of on the fly.
So I probably don't have enough money to buy anything in either of these magic shops, but I would like to know what's there.
Maybe you can kind of plan your route for coming back. Boy, we haven't seen Warp or Exit yet, have we?
No, we have not. I'm kind of hoping for exit at level 6.
Would be nice. We don't see a lot of red mages without a class change. Can't really get a lot of black magic spells at level 6, so yeah, we're really going to be hoping for that exit. Exit and Warp are really great speed strat spells. Letting you instantly move back a floor or just completely exit out of a dungeon definitely can shave minutes off of your time. So one of the important things that you do before you even start this game is choose which party you want to get, and whether or not you have a black mage, a white mage, or a red mage, and what spells get shuffled randomly, and into which position in these spell shops can really kind of make or break your run and how it looks.
Oh, one tile off.
How is that shark ambushing you? Like, is he just flop onto the deck of the ship and just goes blah, and then you can't run away from him, and he's just trying to bite you?
I think I would be pretty much stunned if a giant shark flopped onto the deck of a ship.
Yeah, that would be the definition of an ambush. I did not see that one coming.
You got the drop on me, friend. Well done.
You know what? I'm not even mad. Here, bite me for 50 hit points.
Another question in chat. Did we do incentivized chests in this seed? Yes, Ice Cave is incentivized.
Probably a good place to talk about what specifically incentivized chests are, too.
Yep.
In this game, the object of the game is still the same. We're still trying to kill all 4 of the fiends, and then go back to the temple fiends, travel back in time, and kill chaos. So we need all the items that we need to get to that point. So we need the key, the mystic key, we need the chime, airship, etc., etc. There are a few places in the game, like for example the ice cave, where the floater is in the original version of the game. If everything was randomized elsewhere, we would really never have a reason to visit the ice cave, and the same is true for ordeals. The tail is there normally in the vanilla version of the game, but in the randomizer, we're not really incentivized to go there at all. Like, it's no place that we have to go to beat the game, like was true in the original. So one of the options you can do in the randomizer is what we call incentivize a chest. So currently you can incentivize both Ordeal's Castle, and the Ice Cave. And it takes the chest that normally held either the floater in the Ice Cave or the tail in Castle Ordeals, and it puts a quote-unquote good item in there. Good items could be any key item, including the adamant or the tail, or the floater or the crown or the slab, or any of those other things we need to beat the game. It can also contain the Mass Moon, which is the best sword in the game, usable by any class, or a ribbon, which is one of the best defensive items. Hey, there's level 6 exit. Incentivizing a chest is a really interesting option. The randomizer can kind of affect your routing and how you choose to kind of play the numbers game, how you want to gamble to see where things are.
This might be a good time to talk about the early canoe option.
It's almost like we planned it, right? So in the vanilla version of the game, normally you have to go to the Earth Cave, get the ruby, go back out, get the rod, go kill Lich. But in this version of the randomizer, one of the options we turn on just to make routing and pathing more interesting is what we call the early canoe option. So in this case, you can take the ship straight to Crescent Lake and pick up the canoe immediately without having to kill Lich or go to the Earth Cave. It is an option, but basically we always have it on, because if it's off, the routing isn't super interesting. You would pretty much be very limited as to where you could go. So having that early canoe option really kind of opens up the world a little bit for you. But speaking of opened up worlds, since we have early floater, we basically are going to go straight to an airship.
Oh, I am not fighting these guys anymore.
That is a tough Hydra, good lord. Ooh, some good high fade rolls took him out. That must have been a Hydra that rolled closer to 200% or attack or health. But Thief doing what he does best, almost dying at the front of the party. You guys voted for him, there he is.
So at this point, I would like to get a little bit better in the way of equipment, so I'm going to check out some of the free chests that are around the world map, and then probably go back to the volcano.
Yeah, there are a lot of quote-unquote free chests that you can have access to, which means chests that are very easy to check with the airship that don't require a lot of fights or aren't hidden deep in dungeons. So he's going to pick up that rod that you need to move the plate in the Earth Cave, and we'll get to wave to the Titan. while we're here, robbing his pantry.
Tried to fly directly into the back door of the house. That didn't work so well.
Yeah, you, ooh, flame sword.
Yeah,
Sword
and,
for the red mage.
yeah, and that's about the best that we've come up with. That'll help out for a potential grind.
Toad is just amazing at running away.
Toad runs a lot of games, so...
Wink. In addition to the free chests behind Titan's Cave, Edge is going to go up here to the Cardia Islands and raid Bahamut's garage.
Question in chat, why doesn't the thief have a weapon? The thief has the Zeus Gauntlet and the Mage Staff. As far as weapons go, he doesn't really need anything other than that, and in fact, beyond the Masmune, he can only equip, like, garbage weapons.
Pretty much. The thief arguably has the best weapons on him right now because he could use them in battle to cast free spells.
Just because houses are so expensive, I'm gonna walk this out, but normally I would just reset.
Yeah, the housing market in whatever this world of Final Fantasy is called, definitely bubbling. Been a pretty dry seed here, I'd say, outside of the Zeus Gauntlets and Mage Staff. Oh, there's a Thor Hammer. So we've got magic casting weapons all over the place here.
Yeah, we are all set for Sea Shrine.
Yeah. Fry all those lightning weak enemies.
And there's a sword I can sell.
The meme sword.
Vorpal sword, unfortunately, can't use it with this party
Would you
mount.
consider holding on to that just in the off chance you get a tail or saber on your red mage? I would agree with you that selling is a better option for the money right now.
So, I think we're looking for exit at the level 6 shop, and I would like to get that before proceeding into the volcano. So I think what I'm going to do is take advantage of some mummy battles in Ice Cave, and go up to... what does the white mage need for a level 6 charge?
Ooh, off the top of my head, let me look that up for you.
Yeah, I think that's...
You're asking the guy that plays nothing but red mages what a non-red mage spell requirement is? Come on, man.
Well, it's probably one less than what the red mage would need.
Yeah, that would be my guess here.
Alright, so I don't really intend on fighting or going too deep into the ice cave.
Level 6 is level 17.
Alright.
Or excuse me, 16.
16. 16 might be a little high, in which case I'm just going to get a couple levels here and head over to the volcano.
Yeah, the rate of, or the gap of what level classes learn spells really starts to slow down after level 4. It's 3 or 4 levels apiece in between ranks. It gets a little rough. Like white mages don't even learn level 8 until like 25, if I remember correctly. Question in chats. Can you do ordeals without the crown in the randomizer? That is actually one of the flags that you can turn on or off.
Oops.
I would say most of the time we turn on ordeals without the crown as an option, just because it makes routing more interesting.
And this is a little bit better as far as what we're looking for.
Yeah, these we call them popcorn formations. These chock-full formations of 9 enemies. Because of the way the boost option works for experience and gold, makes these really profitable. Good for experience and gold. So it'll toughen up Edge's party a little bit. What level would you say you like to be kind of around before you head into Volcano with pretty decent offense but not as much healing ability, Edge?
Right about where I'm at right now.
Right around 12 or so?
Yeah.
Nice. So Edge taking advantage of those big clearing packs, and he's going to land next to the Volcano and head on in. The reason that we are going to Volcano instead of, for example, Earth Cave, even though enemies are randomized, you know, up to half or twice as strong as they are normally, the enemies in Earth Cave and Volcano still are generally weaker than what you would see in Sea Shrine or even Sky Castle, excuse me. So, but the reason we go to Volcano instead of Earth Cave first is because Earth Cave has that kind of requirements of needing to go get the rod, and it's kind of a long dungeon and very spread out, whereas the Volcano is a little bit more compact and has a lot of really accessible chests in it, in addition to having some really good grind spots. And also that was a nice power gauntlet pickup. Oh, and Grey Worms have cremate. Looks like we won't be grinding here.
No, absolutely not.
Toad needs to be better running away. I think that was one run failure I saw. Oh, and the adamant for the fighter / knight that we don't have. Luckily, getting heal 2 and heal 3 on ranks 1 and 3. Oh, and the slab. So instead of being in the Sea Shrine, the slab was in the Volcano in this seed.
So that would be funny if the crown is the incentivized chest.
Yeah, this would be a really fast seed if that were the case. Ooh, the professional cape. Is background guy professional enough to wear that pro cape?
Oh, absolutely.
Alright, so we got trap tiles. So fires can be grindable, they're not preferable.
And not with that.
No. Slow is the most appropriately named spell in the when you're trying to race this game, because the spell takes forever to execute and is really annoying.
They also seem to have quite a lot of health.
Yeah, not looking super grindable here. Oh, and they have gaze also, so more reasons not to grind them. I'm hoping Agamas have something awful because I don't want the seed to be too easy for you, Edge. I wanna hear crying and gnashing of teeth. That's what I'm all about.
I can definitely guarantee you gnashing of teeth. There will be no crying though.
Alright, looks like the Red Hydras are a lot tamer than their quote-unquote weaker river brethren there.
So, given that I found some really nice stuff, I am not going to take any chances, and I'm just going to carry it out.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty standard play to take this short walk out and get a safety save. The last thing you want is to get into further floors of the volcano, and it turns out that Cerberus or Wiz Ogres have nuke or something awful, and you just get wiped and lose all that time you spent checking chests.
So, question in chat, we're only seeing one stream of a race. This isn't a race, it's just a single-player exhibition showing off the new version of the Final Fantasy Randomizer.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, this game is so often raced, I was probably mixing up my tenses there. Yeah, this is definitely a showcase race. But Edge is one of the best, I said it again, this is a showcase exhibition, but Edge is definitely one of the better racers in our community, so...
Hello.
Alright, this is the infamous Pede fight, or as we like to call them, the EXPs, because these guys give off a ton of experience when you kill them, and they appear to have pretty decent health.
Double Fade is not something that's too uncommon.
No. So yeah, you got a pretty decent amount of experience from that fight there, so that was a really nice fight to pick up. The real question is, are you going to want to keep that experience if it turns out these chests up in these long, windy corridors don't have anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I would walk it out too. Ooh, white shirt. I think that's reason enough to walk it out.
Yeah, totally agreed. feels a little bad not having access to exit yet, but grinding to 16 is generally not a good play unless we can get some fast levels, and Ice Cave was not cooperating.
No. So outside of high health, haven't had anything particularly scary yet, but that just means that all the awful spells are going to be later in the season. I mean, I'm on your side.
It can't be any worse than that race earlier.
You mean any better, right?
Yes, I misspoke. I'm sorry.
Alright, so yeah, you're still a few levels away from that exit charge, unfortunately.
But at this point, I should be able to get it before leaving the volcano, and it's kind of the one-way trip from here on out. So I'm going to make another safety save and then dive right back in. And it's one of the reasons why I kept a lot of those houses.
Yeah, get those magic charges back.
Yeah, I was debating burning through whatever I had left of tents, but I have no idea how many that is. And, of course, as soon as I do that, I'm gonna find Tail.
Yeah, exactly. Or the crown.
Crown? Crown would be nice.
See, I would never complain about finding the crown, because you kind of need that to beat the game. Alright, so one thing you might notice is that Edge is walking over lava tiles, which seems counterintuitive. Edge, why would you possibly be walking over lava and taking damage?
Because it's a hot new strategy. You don't advance the step counter while you're running over the damage tiles, so in that case, you're just avoiding extra encounters by taking a little bit of damage. And that's damage we can easily eat because we have a lot of heal charges.
Yeah, the white mage having heal 2 and heal 3 very low in the table is very nice. Alright, I have a feeling we're gonna get a sneak peek of the Agamas, or are you just gonna check them at the end?
We're definitely gonna take a look, because if I get wiped here,
it's a lot less time. Yeah, I do the same thing.
okay,
So Agamas are one of the infamous grinding spots. Oh, and they have almost no hit points. Well, I guess 220 is not nothing.
So, as long as they don't have something super nasty as far as the spell list goes, they're looking pretty good to grind.
Well, we do have a ribbon, don't we, already?
Yeah, but I mean, it still feels uncomfortable when you have lead off instant death ability, and
Because yeah, there's still a 3 out of 256 chance that you get wrecked through the ribbon.
yeah.
Yeah, spells can pierce resistances, it's just very unlikely. But if you're fighting, 60 Agamas, suddenly those odds don't look quite so bad anymore. And also that opal bracelet, was that an opal bracelet I thought?
Yeah, that was an opal bracelet, so everything that you could possibly want for a grind, and I'm gonna double check this chest because I have a bad memory.
It's better to, you didn't check it, by the way. It is better to check a chest twice and be sure than to walk past it and spend the rest of the game wondering why you can't find that one thing.
Okay.
Wow, it's Christmas. So wait, let's recap here. We've got 2 ribbons, power gauntlet, white shirt, which casts Invis 2, a very great defensive item. We've already got the slab and the floater. So this has been pretty good luck for Edge so far. Alright, time to see if this Agama is going to pick too big of a fight here. Alright, so he's got more than 132, but less than 220. As far as hit points. Oh, someone in chat saying that he skipped a chest in the right. That is correct, but that is one of the linked chests that I was talking about earlier. That chest is actually linked to another chest in this dungeon, which Edge has already checked. So rather than waste time moving a step or 2 over, checking it, and then having to walk back again, he knows it's a linked chest, so he knows he doesn't have to check it. But very good eyes. Well played, Chad. I'm proud of you.
So, around 170 health, it looks like.
That's pretty reasonable for an Agama.
The only tricky thing is I still haven't seen him do any sort of an attack, so...
Yeah, he might have something terrible. Hopefully not.
Oh, that feels bad.
So we haven't touched on it too much, but there are fights in this game that are unrunnable, which means you have to kill them. And the Wiz Ogre Cerberus fights is one of them. Luckily they die to Faye just as well as darn near anything else does. Agama facts in chat, I love it. Did you know Agamas have a base health of 296? Hashtag. Oop, hashtag Agama facts. Alright, the Red Dragon is another fight that can be grindable. They're pretty scary in the vanilla game because they cast Blaze, but we'll see if they have anything of note here.
Oh, hey.
Oh, I'm sorry, Edge, I jinxed you. They also have a ton of hit points too. Good lord.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Wow. So if you hadn't found those two ribbons, there was a pretty good chance you might have wiped there, because he could have chose to use Blaze twice in a row.
Yep. So we'll move that ribbon down there, and fortunately, Life 2, it's like nothing ever happened. You guys saw nothing.
Life 2 is the best healing spell in the game. Wow. So, we can be very thankful that that we had those two ribbons. On one hand, that's one dangerous skill, or one dangerous skill of Blaze that we didn't have accounted for. So.
I have no desire to see what he has.
No. Red Giants are a little scary because they have a very high attack in the base game. So anything with a kind of an outlier number is dangerous to the randomizer, because if the randomizer decides to upscale that up to 200%, suddenly you're getting hit really hard. Another enemy that's bad like that is the Ghost in the Sea Shrine. It has a very high base attack, so it can be very damaging when the randomizer decides to superpower him. Alright, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the Final Fantasy Randomizer, and that is the Agama grind. So, Edge, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your philosophy on how you like to grind and what class here?
So the black belt is the primary source of, or the primary beneficiary of the grind here, and he just hits like a truck once he gets going at about level 32. Even at level 21, I believe, he's still packs quite a punch.
Yeah, he gets a lot of hits in even at 21. Yeah, I think it's like 6.
One of the benefits, though, is if I find the crown and I have a power level black belt, I really don't need to open very many more chests, which is nice. I can complete a lot of dungeons that would take me significantly longer in go mode. As things stand right now, I think I'm just gonna dip out to the lava tiles real quick and
roast your party.
Yeah. So you take 1 damage per step, and I just want to speed up the process of them getting pummeled.
So what Edge is gonna do here is he's gonna kill off these party members, and so just his black belt is alive, and he's just gonna start destroying that Agama. And for the first 10 kills or so, he's gonna be getting nearly a level a kill, and it's gonna be awesome.
And naturally, whenever we have a fight set up like this, he's gonna punch the one guy that's not gonna die instantly.
Because why would the Agama want you to be happy, Edge? You're trying to murder him. He's not gonna make it easy for you. It looks like his oh, is that poison touch he had?
Yeah, it looked like it. So
That's actually good news though, because that means we know he doesn't also have like Death Touch or Stone Touch.
yeah, one of those nasty abilities that he's just gonna wait a little while before revealing.
Yeah, there's been a few grinds where we've done big races at this game, and everyone's trying to grind in various places, and you'll have an enemy that has like Paralysis Touch or the Sorcerer's Death Touch, but for some reason it just keeps resisting or evading, and then the 20th time you fight them, after you've spent 5-10 minutes grinding, and suddenly you get killed and you're sad. So knowing that they have Poison Touch now is good news, because we know that there's nothing more scary. Poison Touch is easily remedied by a pure potion.
Alright.
Yeah, we got our grind set up. You might want to consider menuing in and out of the armor screen for the...
Yeah, he's hitting a little harder than I would expect, so... and we're gonna move him to the front for easier healing. That way it saves us a menu input. But yeah, that's a good point. You mentioned the armor screen, so you want to talk about the black belt armor glitch?
Yeah. So one of the things in the vanilla game is kind of conceptually what I think the developers were going for, is that they wanted the defense, or this game calls it the absorb value, of the black belt to be equivalent to his level. The theory being that as the black belt leveled up, he had more attunement with his martial arts or whatever, and would get defense increased the higher level he got. But the game also lets you equip items to him just in general. So we found the Opal Bracelet, which is one of the best defensive items as far as pure absorb value goes in the game. But the game has a bug in it, so if you give the Opal Bracelet to the black belt, he gets that really high defense that the Opal Bracelet allows. But every time he gains a level, it resets his defense level back to his level. It just kind of forgets that you have that 42 absorb, Opal Bracelet equipped. And the way to fix that is that between every single level, if you revisit the armor screen, the game kind of corrects that bug, and it will re-give him that 42 absorb from the Opal armor. So because this Agama is hitting kind of hard, you're going to be seeing Edge going kind of, every time he sees he gets a level, he's going to be going into that armor screen, and he's going to be kind of reactivating that Opal Bracelet.
Probably at least until I hit around level 30 or so, in which case the extra menu time kind of...
yeah, not really worth it at that point.
Yeah.
But if you were like, for example, if you were worried about how many heal potions you had, or if for some reason you were worried about something else on the way to carry, for example, going into the armor screen takes maybe a second or two. It might be worth the extra safety depending on kind of the state of the game elsewhere. But yeah, flashing that armor menu is definitely a next level strat, but can be very, very effective if you have, we're fortunate enough to find the Opal Bracelet or even a gold bracelet.
Yeah, and so as you can see with the experience boost, you can, a solo character can pile up the levels really quickly, and we're at the point where our black belt here is one-shotting Agamas, so pretty safe from here on out.
Oh yeah, and we call it the grind, but with the boost turning up as high as it is, kind of reducing some of the blotness of the quote-unquote grind. We're only going to be here for 5-10 minutes at the most, I would imagine.
No, we didn't see faster temper, so the safest way to finish this off is take the black belt to 42, where he gets 10 hits.
Yeah, there are thresholds. We kind of talked about a little bit with level 21, but I believe the thresholds for black belt, correct me if I'm wrong, Edge, I believe they're 21, 32, and 42, is that correct?
Yes.
So every level your character gains, it's kind of hidden in the game, but you gain extra hit percentage or chance to hit. And the black belt has kind of breakpoints where, for example, at level 21, he gets enough hit to have 6 hits, which is what you've been seeing on the screen here, 6 hits on the Agamas. But at level 32, his hit percentage is sufficient enough to get him up kind of to the next plateau, so he gets 8 hits. It's a pretty significant damage boost for just 1 extra level. So a lot of times when you'll see runners when they're grinding, the real decision is, do I go to 32 or do I spend the extra time to go all the way up to 42? You know, that decision is based often on a lot of other factors. You know, do I have access to life? How are my cure spells? How many ribbons have I found? How much more of the game do I have to explore? And that's kind of the beauty of the randomizer, is that you can kind of go in with a plan, but you really have to be able to adapt on the fly and kind of make those decisions. And that kind of strategy is really compelling, which is why a lot of people are getting into it.
Yeah, and trying to execute this grind in Volcano is one of the reasons why I fought the Grey Worms and the Fire Elementals. Checking chests you pretty much have to, but I paid very close attention to how much health they have. They can be useful as backup strats if the Red Dragon or the Agama prove to be really dangerous.
And there are other grind spots as well. Like for example, there's the Eye that guards the Vanilla Floater and Ice Cave. That's another really popular grind spot. Basically anything that you can lock onto a tile and force the same fight every time can be very useful for grinding.
Yeah, and this is why this is kind of the premier grinding spot in the vanilla Final Fantasy. There are 2 Agama tiles, one right next to another, so you are guaranteed to see only Agamas during the duration of this grind.
And you'll notice that since Yogi got all the way up to level 32 previously, he's been hitting for 8 hits now and just completely destroying this Agama. Just grinding him into a fine paste. He's going to sprinkle him over some heal potions later. It's going to be delicious.
So question in chat, would you go to 42 in a race or stay 32? That decision is largely dependent on the flags that you're running and what support spells I have access to. Since I don't have access to Fast, and Temper is in the level 6 magic shop, I am going to take this grind to 42, so that the black belt really only needs cure spells as support. He's not going to, although he has the power glove, that's still costing him a turn to use in fights. It's not as efficient as having another character use their turn to buff the power level black belt.
Yeah, he's already hitting for 4 digits worth of damage. The Agama corpses are just piling up in this room. That's why we had to empty out the chest first, because we had to have somewhere to put all the corpses.
I love the Dead Thief sprite because it looks like he's trying to like steal a base or something.
He's sliding into the front of the party where he can die again. And yeah, with early access to life too, I have a feeling he'll be meat shielding his way through Temple of Fiends Revisited, just like God intended.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like running White Mage, Red Mage. You don't lose very much as far as the early game. You don't lose anything as far as the early game Black Magic. And if you can pick up an extra life, access to life, it makes Temple of Fiends just that much safer.
Counterpoints, you have 50% as much hats.
I mean, you got a hood and a hat. Hoods are cool too.
I'm all about those red mage fedoras. I like to tip it and say "milady" every time I walk into Carneria and see Arlon the Dancer.
It's the stylish feather in your hat.
Exactly. And another reason to go to 42 is because of the way the boost is turned on in this seed. It's gonna make it's gonna make this grind pretty quick. To be honest with you, we have the boost kind of turned up to max, and also hashtag marathon safety strats. Yeah, I mean we're already at level 39. As far as RPG grinds go, this is pretty tame.
So normally I would stop at about 39 or 40 and call it a day, but just in case Carrie rolled very, very high HP, we're gonna make sure that Yogi here can get the one shot.
I didn't realize how apropos this black belt is named after Yogi the monk, because I mean, monk, black belt, it's just so appropriate. Well done on the naming.
It was definitely put some thought into these names here.
Obviously, I'm the fan of the red.
Question in chat, tournament flags. So, for the Final Fantasy Randomizer tournament, which is currently ongoing, there are different flags for each round of the tournament. So it gets progressively more difficult the further you make it into the tournament. Kind of an interesting wrinkle. And if you caught that, the number of heal potions that I had about 50 left over. Normally you do not have that much.
That's pretty good, actually. The opal bracelet and the ribbon really cutting down the amount of healing you have to do.
Yeah, normally I would run from this fight, but I can't tell if this is the unrunnable Wizogre Cerebus fight, so I'm just gonna punch my way out. I'm using the newest version of the randomizer, so the flags are going to be a little different, so it doesn't directly apply to the tournament.
I would say that this is, like, if you really had to pin it down, this is halfway between a round 2 and a round 3 flag for the tournament, for those that are in the know.
Yeah, I would say it's probably an easier round 3.
But I mean, you know, enemy skills and stats can go all the way up to 200%, which is pretty significant. You know, if you have a 200% rolled chaos or a really high absorb 200% Tiamat too, you're gonna be really glad that you leveled that black belt all the way up to 42, I think.
Question in chat, why does the screen shake? The animation for dealing damage and receiving damage actually pulls numbers from the random number generator, and that's what determines what the exact way the screen shakes. So it's just an artistic decision, but when it comes to like task runs of the original Final Fantasy, it's actually significant. It's kind of funny.
So, having completed the volcano, we're one fiend down of 4 that we need to kill. You might be wondering, why is Edge going to the ice cave when he could be checking, you know, the sea shrine or, you know, the earth cave, since those are all places he has to go anyway, and you know, he could check the chests on the way. But you do have to remember that ice cave is incentivized, which means that there is the vanilla floater chest at the end of Ice Cave does have something good in it. Now that something good could be the tail, or the Masamune, which is not super necessary right now, but it has a pretty high likelihood of also having the crown in it, which is the last item we need to be done with required items in this game. So Edge is deciding to go to Ice Cave instead of checking all the other locations first because of that incentivized option, which I think is a smart play.
Yeah, we're looking for one key item, and so there is a pretty good chance that that item is in Ice Cave, and even if it's not, it's still 16 chests that, with the power level black belt, is not going to take me very long to look through.
I know. And also, you just got done traipsing your way through a fiery hot volcano, so you need to cool down a little bit. Eat some delicious ice cream. Get punched in the face by some wraiths and ghouls.
Is that what they're holding? I thought it was like candles, but maybe they're ice cream cones.
No, I would assume that they're ice cream cones. I still wouldn't want to eat them, though. God knows what flavor that is. Baskin-Robbins introduces the new ectoplasm flavor. Does not go over very well.
Yeah, not everything can be Hi-C Ecto Cooler.
Aw man, now I'm thirsty and nostalgic. Question in chat: if Crown isn't here, do you go to Ordeals next? If your name is Files, I think you go to Ordeals next. But I think if you're Edge, you would probably go to Sea Shrine or Earthgate next.
Well, I have early slab, so depending on where I find the bottle, it's going to determine whether I do Sea or Sky Cave first.
Yeah, early slab does. Sky Castle and Mirage are kind of thick with high concentrations of chests. Sea Shrine has a lot of chests too, but they're a little bit more spread out. But the very top floor of Sea Shrine is the Mermaid floor, which is a ton of chests with no fights. So it's definitely a trade-off. And like any good randomizer, you know, you can have amazing routing and really good execution play, but sometimes it just comes down to a gamble. So even though this is an exhibition show, we're not actually racing anybody. If we were playing this as a race, which is what often happens in this game, you know, you could come down to, oh, I went to Earth Cave first and I went to Sea Shrine first, and it just happened to be there. So there's definitely a little bit of luck in this game when it comes to trying to get real fast times. I'm still getting used to these lower gold amounts from the new version. It's a really nice change, but I'm used to seeing really higher numbers.
The 2 gold chest still cracks me up. I saw a Trystal crack open a 1 gold chest earlier today.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Alright, so there's a whole bunch of new enemies that we have played the first time in here, but none of them have really had time to cast anything scary, and part of the reason for that is that super high leveled black belt in the fronts just has really high agility and pretty decent luck stats. In addition to his high level, some enemies might just run away from him, so we're getting kind of lucky, like those sorcerers are right there. Like they're so scared of super buff Yogi to Monk, he just flexes and they immediately leave. That's an angry Pete.
Grr.
Thanks for spiking that bump, I say it. Wizard's another unrunnable fight, unfortunately, so
what's
one
nice,
of them got away.
Yeah, what's nice is that they're generally very cowardly, so even if they did have particularly nasty attacks, if you bring the power-leveled black belt, you can usually make short work of them.
I like to think of it more as they've got a real keen sense of self-preservation. Alright, we're coming up on the vanilla floater chest, which is the incentivized chest in Ice Cave. So we're going to check these 3 chests here, and drop down a hole and somehow not break every bone in our bodies, and then we're going to check that chest that's guarded by the eye.
I think we're going to hand BGG that gold bracelet real quick.
With all that defense, he doesn't need to be in the background. This is another popular grind spot here. Oh wow, that eye got destroyed. Jesus. 1,500. Ah, get trolled, Edge.
I would be a lot angrier about this if I didn't have the airship.
The incentivized chest has a ruby, which, if you'll remember your Final Fantasy 1 lore, is required to feed the Titan to get access to the cave of Sarda, who has the rod, which lets you complete all of Earth Cave. But the incentivized chest having ruby is kind of irrelevant because we have access to the airship, so we can just fly straight to Sarda. So unfortunately, Edge made a pretty good gamble to go check out Ice Cave, but it totally did not pay off, and he got ruby instead. Are you gonna feed the Titan, Edge? Are you gonna respect the memes, or is that poor guy gonna go hungry for this entire game?
He very well may go hungry. It all depends on. Really, all depends.
You are got it.
No. All depends on what my menu looks like before going into Temple of Fiends.
There's the real answer. I'd say odds of the Titan going hungry are pretty high in this seed because you've already visited the Sarda's cave and checked the chest behind the Titan. So you'd really need a compelling reason to waste time to fly there and back again. And having good positioning in your sub-menu for heal potions, it might be good enough of a reason. And also, is this, do we pretty much know that it's Bottle and Onrak?
No, it could be in Gaia.
It could be in Gaia, okay.
But I'm just taking the gamble so that I can do crown first. Or,
Yeah.
not crown first, but,
So you'll remember in the vanilla game, the bottle is in the oasis that Edge just checked before he ran up to this waterfall cave here. But because the shops have been randomized, that means the bottle could be in any chest in any item shop in the game. So Edge has checked every item shop in the game except for two. The town next to the Sea Shrine, which is on rack, and Gaia, which is where the ferry is in the vanilla game. But you have to go to this waterfall cave to pick up the cube. Hey, is that out of bounds, Bat?
that is out of bounds bat front and center. And,
I love it.
that is kind of an ugly, ugly encounter group.
Yes, it was. Hey, more awesome equipment that we can't use because we don't have a fighter. Dragon armor is some of the best defensive armor available for a knight, but since we don't have one in this seed, we won't be using.
Whoops. There we go. That's not the right hotkey at all.
Proper placement of your resets and power buttons on either your console or emulator are very important for this game, so you'll be utilizing both of them quite frequently. Alright, moment of truth is the bottle and on-rack. Haha. It's always the last place you check.
Yep, because then you stop checking. Just out of curiosity, what do we have in White Magic level 7? It's not too bad.
Fog 2. Pretty useful. Fog 2, I would call it the second tier defensive spell for the White Mage. Although it definitely has its uses. Invis 2 is really nice because it's very stackable to increase evade so you don't get hit at all. But what Fog 2 does is it just increases your absorb. So against enemies that hit very often but not very hard, a fog is very good because you get the value of the absorb every single time the enemy hits.
I'm being chased down the river by the same group, and they have toxic.
And slow. Oh, those gators casting toxic. Jeez. Only the ribbon members survived. Oh man, between that and the really high skilled hydras, the rivers are super dangerous in this seed. Good lord.
It's
I'd go hiking in the mountains before I went down these rivers.
yeah. So I did forget to get the slab translated, so
Man.
let's go do that real quick.
I was hoping you'd forget so I could laugh at you because I'm a bad person. I mean, I'm behind you all the way.
Appreciate the support.
No problem, buddy. Now, would you consider being wild and crazy and just doing Earth Cave while you're down in the area?
Nope.
Or do you still think the play of a higher concentration of chests in like Sea Shrine or Sky Castle is better?
Yeah, I always go higher concentration of chests. The reason being, I feel like, with the possible exception of Tristal and Artean Broadster on good fighter seeds, that I can out-execute a lot of other people in the races. So if you can...
Except for me though, Reddit. Except for me, right?
Well, I mean, there's always something in Ordeals, so I have no idea how that's going to turn out.
I'll stop fishing. But yes, yeah, Edge is a very solid mechanical player of this game. And if you want to beat Edge, you got to bring your A game, and you also have to get a little bit lucky, I think. So yeah, with that knowledge that Edge has of his own abilities, constantly making those high percentage plays, always going for the places where you think you can get the most chests per minute, while still getting done what you need to get done. It's really what separates really fast runners of this game from the slower ones.
Yeah, and being able to do that is just because of the quality of execution. Basically, if you do the same exact routing as an opponent who is executing better than you are, then you are just setting yourself up for failure.
Yep. Which is why I like the Ordeals gamble so much.
And I mean for newer players and players who I may not have as much experience, the Ordeals gamble is a perfectly reasonable gamble. A lot of the higher tier players won't check it unless it's incentivized, because there's only 9 chests there. But if there is something there, it almost guarantees the player that gambled a very hefty lead.
Oh yeah, you can easily score yourself, a quick 15-20 minutes with a whack play, which again is part of the beauty of the randomizer experience. To be honest with you.
Now, the reason why I keep burning a lot of encounters in this
Tyro.
peninsula, yes, say hello to the Tyro, is just because there are so many unrunnable groups in here, and because I've done all of my leveling up front, I really don't want to take any fights here. So let's just burn some houses and cabins and not get into any fights on the way to Mirage Tower.
And the reason this works is because you can there's two different ways you can reset the game. You can do a power cycle, which is kind of a hard reset, or you can do a soft one. The soft reset will put you back to the save point, but it keeps the encounter table kind of in its current position. So you can burn fights like Ed is doing right now, leaving this desert.
I can't tell you how happy I am that I didn't get that while I was in a dungeon.
Yeah, that was a pretty gross part of the encounter table. There were a whole bunch of fights right next to each other there. Meanwhile, chat is debating the merits of killing or eating the Tyro. You're going to be disappointed, though, because Edge and I are both firm proponents of saving the Tyro. He's a beautiful, adorable, dorky-looking dinosaur sprite. And anyone that wishes him harm is the devil.
Paint sword, that's barely good enough to hang on to. Let's dump all of the stuff we're definitely not going to use.
I'm curious why you would decide to stop for the paint sword with all the ribbons and 42 level black belt.
Because I'm going to try it on Tiamat.
Well played, sir. Well played. Alright, so nothing on the first floor of Mirage. We are still looking for that crown to be able to finish this game up, unfortunately. I'm gonna laugh pretty hard when the crown is in Ordeal's Edge. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd have to take like a 5-minute break. And it would be glorious.
And, well, those are some cat men.
Those are some cat men. We might see some men cats too.
I hope not. Those guys are jerks.
They're always casting fire too, interrupting my stories at parties.
Yeah, speaking of jerks, this is a formation that you see quite often going through Mirage Tower, and it has a very high ambush rate. Fortunately, you get sort of a sneak peek of the abilities of the Cerebus and the Volcano, so you can kind of prepare yourself for that going into it.
I would say that the Cerberus monster is one of the worst guys to have a particularly scary skill on. Like if you've got a Cerberus with like Nuke or Blaze or something, because you see them so often and they're also part of an unrunnable formation, that's a really dangerous monster to have something gross on. Man, we're running out of professionals to put these capes on. We might have to resort to putting them on amateurs.
Yeah, well, I mean, we ran out of spaces so quickly that we have 2 capes on one character.
So you get one in the front, one in the back. It's like a really gnarly looking poncho.
You just put 2 of them together, you have a cloak instead. Oh,
right, well,
this
we're
is
seeing
gonna...
the vampire packs before we see the, oh, this could be bad. Oh, Frost Catmen.
Yeah,
right,
and
some good resist out of the white mage there with a ribbon. Ooh, merciless.
so I'm not gonna take any chances with the characters that are about to die, and we'll just clear this out. Ambushes in formations like this are some of the worst that you can get for the exact reason that you saw. This fight took basically an entire minute to complete.
Oh yeah, and I mean, outside of the time loss, you know, it would have been very easy for you to have gotten to this point in the game with 0 ribbons. And that would have been, like, the only person who would have survived would have been your black belt, and that would have been a maybe, depending on how high those frosts rolled and whether or not he resisted any.
Well, at least he didn't have infinite evade this seed.
No. I'm resisting the joke so hard right now. But yes, the blue D is another grindable location as well. That you can walk over onto that trap tile and just keep killing that blue D over and over again.
Oh, this is really scary.
Those are some bad men.
That is bad, and it's bad in particular because of where they show up in significantly larger groups.
Bad men show up a lot here, and they also show up in very large groups. The Temple of Fiends are visited. That could come back to haunt us. We're gonna have to hope for good luck.
Yeah,
because trance is not elemental and not resistible by ribbons, unfortunately.
Yeah, so on the floor that has Phantom, you run into groups of, I believe, is it 7 to 9 bad men?
That sounds about right.
In which case, it makes the gas dragon fight almost preferable.
Which is a ridiculous thing to say, but true in this case.
And is thematically appropriate, Nightmare putting people to sleep.
I enjoy the lore wins. And again, even if you get through this without a scratch, there's still just a ton of time lost watching all of these trance animations go up. Man, in addition to casting trance, they must have rolled up on their attack because they're hitting pretty hard. Question in chat, when might we see Warmech? We are in the same dungeon that Warmech's in. I'll give you guys a heads up when we might have a chance to see him. Wow, you are just getting the worst of these bad men here.
Yep, and of course we're gonna roll low on a couple of them and lose all that experience, but
that's what I like to call the Final Fantasy Randomizer special. You cast Fade or some big area clearing spells with some of your mages, and you select Run with the rest, and then you waste maximum time by killing all but one, winning on all those animations, and then running with one guy before you get the experience. Feels bad, man.
Feels bad, man.
I see what you did there, Ed. See, it's funny because he's fighting the eye, you guys. Come on. So this floor here does have chests on it, but Edge is going to skip it because the floor that he's on right now has a much higher concentration of chests. So he'll save himself a little bit of time by checking this first, and then going back down below. Black shirt, definitely worth picking up. We haven't seen how bad waters are in this seed, and waters are part of an unrunnable fight in both the Sea Shrine and very common in the last dungeon in here, and they are weak against ice, and the black shirt casts ice too when used as an item. So it's always nice to see the black shirt.
And those are some man cats.
No, I think those are some cat men. Wait, were the other ones men cats?
Yes.
I don't remember how the joke goes anymore, man. I've been drinking too much. This is turning out to be quite the elusive crown. I was going to say something if you walk past that katana chest.
Yeah, I definitely recognize that menu slip. So.
I'm so used to watching you play in a race where I can't spoil anything.
Well, I mean, I still appreciate you not throwing some... Ooh! There's the rare encounter, so...
Ooh, the fighter encounter. Is this an 8 or a 7 encounter?
I think this is an 8.
I think it is, yeah. 8 is the rarest encounter. It goes from 1 to 8.
That is a nice amount of gold.
420 fighter it.
So the reason why I went up top is there is a significantly higher time investment in checking all of these chests.
Yeah, it's a lot of walking for pretty spread out. Some of these rooms only have one chest in them.
Yeah, and it has unrunnables on this floor as well. The eye is kind of a cakewalk as far as the unrunnables go. You're usually not upset to see him, but I mean, we have pretty much all the levels that we need to finish the game, so...
Yeah, you could be in Temple of Fiends with the equipment and levels you have right now, and the spell charges you have, and I think you would be pretty happy. But we can't, because we have to find that crown so we can turn in the Mystic Key, because there is one key-locked door in the Temple of Fiends. There were not any items in that wall there, Edge.
I'm just checking, you never know.
Alright, that's cool. Who knows what Entroper put in this newest version?
I mean, you've heard of, like, crown molding, right?
A+, sir. Well done. Those are some evil men. That joke put that nightmare to sleep.
Yep, we're still looking for crown.
Normally the crown is buried deep in the marsh cave, but because of the randomizer... Oh, there we go!
Alright, we found it.
Alright, so we are in kind of a state of the game what a lot of randomizers will call go mode, which means we have everything we need to complete the game. So at this point, it's all execution. We've made our plans, we made our routing, and it has paid off. And Edge is checking this last chest for some reason.
That's a lot of money.
Wow, that actually for the way the gold is randomized in this newest version, that actually is a lot of money. We have people in chat suggesting that you continue looking for the crown. I feel like they might not have your best interest in mind.
I mean, it's possible. I could be crown locked, right? Now that I have the crown, I can go looking for the crown in those chests.
That's true. A whole bunch of new chests open up for you.
And so that's one of the interesting things is, depending on where some of the key items lie, each seed feels a little bit different. Like, in this seed, I found Floater about 3 minutes into the game, but we had a race earlier today where the Floater wasn't found until about an hour 15 in. And each one of those feels just completely different from one another. If you have early crown or super late floater.
This is the floor that Warmech could show up on, by the way. Wow, you were just getting encounters after encounter on this bridge. It's almost like this section of the map has the highest encounter rate in the game or something. I'm seeing a bunch of monsters suggesting that we kick a Tyro off of this bridge. Tyro never hurt anybody. He's got those short, stubby little arms. That ridiculous smile. He just wants to be loved. You gonna respect the memes, Edge?
Nope. Because I forgot.
Tiamat is, for some reason, most bosses in this game will have innate resistance to a lot of the instant kill spells like Bane or Zap or what have you.
No, we're definitely not respecting the memes because I screwed up and put Bane Sword on it. So...
No, do it! But Tiamat, for some reason, is not resistant to Bane. So Tiamat has a pretty good chance of being baned. Isn't it like right around like 30-some%, depending on how much magic defense that she rolled?
I think it's either 1 in 7 or 1 in 8. What's interesting is, because it's a weakness to Poison Stone in general, you can hit her with Brack as well, and that is an even higher success rate.
That's true. The reason Bane is funny is because you'll typically have access to Bane a lot more frequently than you'll have access to Brack, because you can get the Bane Sword, which casts it for free. Hello, Tyro. See, look at that smile. How could you threaten violence against that adorable creature?
Another question in chat. What changed with the gold in the new version of the randomizer? The gold chests have kind of been adjusted along with the amount that you find that you get from enemies, and it's basically we made things, or I shouldn't say we, Entroper made things cheaper across the board, but gave you less gold, and it kind of evens out. But what that does is allows the game to adjust the gold levels without hitting the 65k cap.
I'd say what the big difference the change has made is it's kind of allowed for more granularity across the kind of the spectrum of what gold costs can be. So for example, there's a maximum price for things like gold bracelets. You know, the maximum price they could be is right around 65k. But with the changes in the randomizer that have just come out recently, because things cost less and you get less, there's more room on the upper end for very, very expensive items to retain their very expensive price. So it just kind of gives us more options as far as, you know, how expensive things can be. And, you know, more options is always good.
Okay.
That was free. We're at triple ribbon, folks. We're at full ribbon. This party is 75% pretty princess. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Very, very fashionable party, and feels nice to have the red mage being able to have a ribbon as well.
Yeah, having 2 party members have access to life too really makes you feel secure about what could you possibly be looking for, Edge Masamune? That's your penalty for for being greedy, is getting this unrunnable fight.
I'm looking for the 4th ribbon, of course.
Yeah, well, you keep looking, buddy. I'll let you know when you find it. Chat, there's only 3 ribbons in the game, but don't tell him. I probably shouldn't have whispered that in the microphone that you're also listening to.
We've secretly replaced the 4th ribbon with a wear sword. Let's see if he notices. Also, ha!
Oh, come on, man! What is this? The Masamune and the... this seed just does not want me to win any argument. That's the equivalent to ribbon number 4, I think. Okay. The only way I could have won is if Crown had been an Ordeals. So I lost as soon as he found the Crown. We got chat suggesting that the 4th rib is on the top floor of Sky Castle, and you should go back for it.
Another question in chat, am I going to find the rat tail? The rat tail might have been more useful early. I could have switched the thief into a ninja and gotten some extra spell charges, but I'm not going to be leveling up the thief very much from here on out. In fact, I really want to get into as few encounters as possible for the rest of the game. So, I'm not going to gain enough levels to take advantage of those spell charges. And as a result, I'm just going to skip out on any possible class change.
You'll see Edge moving the thief to the front of his party. Kraken and later on Kraken 2 in the Temple of Fiends is one of the scarier bosses because he has a ridiculously high attack rate and he hits 8 times. So if Kraken chooses to melee, oftentimes he just kills somebody straight up and there's nothing you can do about it. So by moving the more expendable party members to the front of the party, he reduces the chance of getting melee. But of course Kraken is just casting fire too because, you know, why give me an example of the thing I was talking about? You suck, Kraken. Alright, so we've got our 3rd orb lit. So, ironically, we're going to finish the orb that most vanilla players would finish last. So we're going to be heading to Earth Cave real shortly here. And that is why you always save the instant you leave a town. Because if you take one step, you're going to get another fight. But yes, so tail probably not necessary because we have everything we need to beat this game right now. We have all the defensive items we could possibly want. We even found the Masamune to boot. And we have all the required items. So at this point, it's just checking items off our list lighting orbs, punching undead dudes in the face.
Comment in chat, Black Belt got stronger with the change as well. Damage-wise, Black Belt and Master are exactly the same. Level scaling-wise, the Master is actually worse than the Black Belt, because the Master gets an additional point of magic defense per level, but the Black Belt gets 4 points of magic defense per level.
It's really unknown whether that was a bug or intentional, and that is an ongoing topic of discussion in the randomizer community as to whether or not that needs to be dealt with or changed. But for now, since it was in the vanilla game, we're just kind of rolling with it. So we're about to see one of the great changes that Intrepor added in the latest version of the randomizer. Do you want to show off the bat party room, Edge?
Oh, absolutely.
So one of the problems with these bats is that they move about randomly, and there's a lot of really tight quarters here in the Earth Cave. So it is possible for a bat to kind of work himself into a hole and just kind of be stuck there, and you could sit there waiting for 2 minutes and he would never come out. So sometimes you lose just a ton of time to just stupid randomness. Hey, it's second out of bounds.
Oh, there's a trap tile there. I didn't even know.
Neither did I, actually. But
I just
so
wanted to...
Troper removed some of the bats that could have been problems, and he moved them into the what we like to call the bat party room, or the bat cave. Key indeed, bat. This is another reason why wizards have the potential to be scary, because they show up in so many dungeons. They're kind of like the Cerberus that we were discussing before. If they have something bad, it just kind of echoes throughout the entire seed.
Yeah, and it's generally rough sledding if something that's unrunnable has a nasty ability. Because then you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's why I always use an inflatable tube instead. Hashtag fat guy strats.
Oh, that's nice. I haven't seen one of those.
What is this? Just free items in all the chests that you would not normally, that you would check even if you were in go mode. Wow.
This is, so, Files and I refer to those, chests that are very, very much, on the way to different areas as greed chests, and, a lot of the top runners like to check them, because even if you're in go mode, there may be items in there that are going to make your journey significantly safer. So for example, that pro ring is, even though I put that on a character with a ribbon, the pro ring has 8 extra absorb, and that's going to help out defense-wise.
Other items that you sometimes get from checking quote-unquote free chests, the Massamoon. I don't know if you heard of it, it's a pretty good sword.
Yeah,
it's the best sword they give.
It's pretty nice. White shirt is typically another item that you'll look for, and that lets you cast Invis 2, and it's nice because you can pass that down to a character that normally can't learn Invis 2, and lets them set up some evasion before a big fight against, say, a Kraken, Tiamat, or Chaos.
Well, it's also something good to put on your thief too. You know, if you don't class upgrade him, he doesn't have a whole lot to do. He can be we call him a shirt rack sometimes because he'll be utilizing that white shirt for the defense, or perhaps a black shirt or a mage staff or something like that. And just like that, we have got 4 crystals lit.
I remembered this time.
That's why you always save after a dungeon, because Edge moved 1 step and got the unrunnable the shadow ambush fight.
So I think the golds were here, and if not, I'm just gonna keep going. Silvers, shoot. He's still using chain armor, so I'm gonna get a silver instead, because that's going to increase his evasion quite a bit, and I think... Yeah, gosh, you're still using wooden armor. Yeah, you get one too.
Question in chat, how do you use a shirt in combat? I would assume that you hold it out in front of you and point to the logo. and then the enemy is impressed by your brand association.
So we have a sufficient amount of potions. I'm gonna go buy a tent real quick.
Just to even out the inventory.
Yeah.
No, that seems pretty reasonable. We have talked about it before, but having a nice, even item menu like that, allowing you to menu to your heal potions faster is just super worth it.
So right now, we still have the crown chain to do, and
I was hoping you were gonna forget.
nope. Always check before I go in.
You're on your way. Oh my god, it turns out the king of the Northwest Castle was Astos all along? I did not see that one coming.
This is the greatest twist since The Sixth Sense, my friend.
Oh my god. Someone call M. Night Shyamalan. I've got a script idea for it. That has to be one of my favorite meme jokes in the entire Final Fantasy game. This is this totally obviously evil king in the Northwest Castle. If you talk to him before you find the crown, just shady as heck. Just like in the vanilla game, you still have to complete the so-called crown chain quests, or chain quests, where you turn the crown to Astos, punch him in the face, take the crystal he stole to Matoya, get the herb, which you then take to Elfland, to the prince, who gives you the mystic key, which is the item required to unlock a lot of places in the game, but specifically the door in the Temple of Fiends Revisited, which you have to go through to complete the game. So we give only the dankest of herbs to our elfish prince. I'm sure he appreciates it. You know, with the dash speed hacks on, I wonder if it's faster to cast menu to exit versus just running out like that. I bet it's really close.
I think it's faster in most cases, but kind of keeping an eye on the estimate here and doing things a little slower.
Yeah, I'm sure that you know, that extra 2 seconds is gonna make or break. Yeah, but this was definitely a pretty generous seed. You got a lot of defensive items early. Early floater, kind of let you move around the world map pretty fast. So, Temple of Fiends Revisited is a great equalizer.
Yeah, another one of the nice changes that showed up in this version of the randomizer is there used to be a problem with experience overflowing, in particular on the 4 Gas Dragon fight, and that no longer happens. So thank you to Introper for fixing that by adjusting the scaling across the experience scaling across the board for enemies. And
yeah, it used to be you would kill these and they would overflow and you wouldn't get very much experience, but that is very much not the case anymore.
yeah, and as you can see, that's an absurd amount of experience and everyone gets a level. I'm going to, let's see, let's burn a heal
Was that
too.
fishable? How early in the encounter table was that?
I didn't do a power cycle.
Oh, you didn't power
so.
cycle? Yeah, hard to tell then.
Okay.
But these are some bad men, I feel, if you guys will remember.
Bad news, they have trance. Good news, there's only 5 of them. Worst news, I don't know what's next on the list. Let's
I'm not
see.
interested in finding out.
Let's see if Phantom one-shots somebody today, because he likes doing that. You know, that's an option too.
he was so scared of the red mage Files hitting him for 6 damage. He's like, I know, I can't deal with it.
Hey, found another one.
I'm gonna throw up. You have gotten every single free item that you could possibly get. I can't. Good lord. It's like Christmas in this seed. Chat saying he one-shotted himself.
And
Speaking of one-shot, Toad getting stun touched by those chimeras.
well, we have that's what we have fate charges for. Hopefully they don't have a ton of magic defense like they are currently displaying.
Well, if they decide to attack your backline and stunlock them, this could get real dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of hits and they're hitting pretty hard. Oh, Yogi decided to break out of his stun trance at a pretty good time. Wow, they were hitting through that opal bracelet for 100 damage.
Yeah, they're hitting pretty hard. I'm going to continue taking this fight because Chimeras have a ridiculous amount of experience, and this is going to make things safer.
1,700 damage. Whew. Boy, yeah, with the experience changes, it really makes leveling in the Temple of Fiends that was not really there in previous versions.
By the way, really wish I had Cure 4.
Hey, at least you moved your heal potions to a good spot in the item menu.
Yeah.
Ah, you lazy. Using those Cure 3s. And you're rewarded with another unrunnable fight here.
Good Fire 3 roll at least. Hopefully that should be enough for the Thief to take out the Frost Giant. Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that does pretty good damage. Turns out Massimmune's pretty good sword.
Oh, how about another one? Also, that's not Fire 3. Whoops.
Yeah, that is not the correct spell. Although it'll do just fine. Would you consider at this point doing a warp route to save the experience that you've gained, or are you just going to press on?
No, I'm just going to press on. At this point, the only thing I'm really worried about are the water fights, and I have a black shirt at least, so...
Yep. And we're already past the floor where you can see bad men. Although, can you see bad men on the air floor? I don't think so, right? That's just the first two.
You can see evil men, but not bad men.
Evil men, that's what I was thinking. Same sprite. Worms are another unrunnable fight. They typically have a scary high amount of attack power.
But fortunately, they are very, very weak to any sort of physical attack. And, yeah, we are picking up a ton of experience off of these fights. Which is nice, because Nuke and Nuclear are in the rotation. Actually, you want to explain sort of the script shuffle for the Temple of Fiends bosses?
Yeah, so when Entroper was making the randomizer, he made the smart decision of kind of subdividing up what can be randomized where. So he didn't want to make it so all the really powerful boss abilities could be stuck on, you know, an enemy somewhere that you only meet once or twice. He wanted to keep the bosses, you know, scary and strong and still with the potential to do a lot of damage. So there's kind of three pools that the spells and skills are shuffled around. The first pool is just kind of all the random generic enemies that you see everywhere. They all can shuffle stuff between each other. The second pool is all the regular bosses, so Lich, Tiamat, Carrie, and Kraken all kind of share a pool. And then the third and final pool, and arguably the most scary pool, is the final boss pool, which includes Chaos, all the Fiends Revisited that we're going to see in the Temple of Fiends here, and also Warmech. The addition of Warmech means that any one of these bosses in the Temple of Fiends could cast the really scary spell called Nuclear. And even more scary, it means that Nuclear and the spell Nuke could be on the same enemy, and if they cast those things back to back, even a really high level party could be taking 500 damage per person or more, and it could just be awful. So what Edge was talking about, getting all these extra levels for you know, all these mages and secondary party members, it could be very handy for the support spells to keep the Black Belt alive. Of course, you could get lucky and have the Black Belt go turn 1 and get a ridiculous crit and just destroy somebody. But the key phrase there is get lucky, which does not always happen. Temple of Fiends Revisited, it could be the great equalizer, because you can get here with a, you know, in a race with a 5 to 6 minute lead, and just have a crazy encounter rate, or have a lot more runnable fights, or just have bad luck on some of these bosses, and, you know, just suddenly lose minutes of time. Alright, let's see what Lich has got. Lich
Or,
probably
or
the
not.
weakest. Oh, or he can just get mass immune to Yogi to death.
Yeah.
Lich is-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Lich is generally the least worrisome of all the fiends. He has the lowest amount of base hit points and stats, so if the randomizer decides to spin him up, he's just typically less scary because he has less base stats.
Aww.
What could you have possibly found, man? You found the mass in, what, the tail? Just to spite me?
You can't actually. I don't think the tail can
Actually,
spawn.
you're right, I don't think you can find the key items down there.
So, I don't know. One more pro ring, maybe?
I respect your attempts to make me look bad, though. I appreciate that. Shows you care.
Give it one more
So,
shot.
Carrie has a potential of 6 attacks, which means her attack power being spun up could be real dangerous in a melee.
No, that was 9.
Wow! Is that sleep touch, Carrie?
Yes, with 9 hits.
That thief just got turned into a paste. Good lord. Imagine that with almost twice the hit points in some of these later bosses, and you can see how Temple of Fiends can be a real equalizer. This is why you level your black belt to level 42, because you don't want to mess around with Carrie deciding to attack. You know, if Carrie had attacked first and hit the black belt for higher crit, I mean, that could have been real bad news bears.
Kind of making a poor assumption here that mass immune hit is going to be enough. I probably should have had the red mage attack together, but it doesn't look like I'm going to pay for that.
Doesn't look like it either. These waters don't appear to be too scary.
No, and because it's 4, I kind of ran sort of the same play that you would run with a like a 4 large monster group. But if there were 6 or more, I'm definitely coming out with fades and black shirts firing.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you're trying to speed run a game, especially in a competition, you really want to take the time to do all the little things just you can do to prevent massive time losses and party wipes. So little things like, you know, taking the extra 5 seconds to make sure you don't lose a fight, you know, with safety strats is definitely something important you could do to minimize your chance of losing. Now, if you thought Carrie was bad, meet Kraken too. Kraken can hit for up to 8 times for more damage than Carrie. So we'll see how bad Kraken is here. Ooh, big hit from the black belt, but Kraken's still alive. Wow, big hit on the fade. Oh, and Toad gets just meat shield destroyed again.
Toad taking one for the team. Much
Luckily,
appreciated.
Yogi went before Kraken. I mean, he could have just as easily went first, killed the red mage, and then went first in the second round and killed the white mage, and you would have been out of people that could have revived. But luckily, that was not the case.
Yeah, that's always the danger, and that's why you rearrange the party like that.
Yep, the people in the front of the party have a higher chance to be attacked or chosen for targets of things. Thanks for not making me be my avatar be the primary meat shield. It shows you care, Ed.
Anytime. And speaking of going after the healer,
I mean, you know, taking the extra time to buy the armor for the white mage might have just saved the white mage from dying there.
so it may be a little time wasteful to continually move the party around after fights, but I just really do not want to run into a fight like this and get a ambush, because that's going to waste even more time. And almost certainly walking from Tiamat to Chaos, you're going to get 1 encounter. So I think everybody is pretty well set for this, so let's do this again, and away we go.
Now, Chaos has much higher base health. He's got 200 hit points. So the randomizer can really get a hold of him and spin his, you know, his health can go all the way up to 4,000. and his attacks, while not as frequent or numerous as Kraken 2's, can still be pretty potent. And his absorb can get nearly as high as Tiamat 2, so he's definitely a worthy boss to end this randomizer. And his magic defense is garbage. So you'll see our thief using the white shirt to stack evasion. It must have already worked because Toad managed to avoid an almost certain bloody death there.
And that's about it. So
ooh, that's a dot finish right there.
Yeah.
So that is time. GG Edge. That was a pretty solid seed for an exhibition with the items placed where they were.
Yeah, I think that showed off some of the interesting item distributions and got to show off a lot of the different strategies, especially checking the greed chests. That's something that I see a lot of newer players might overlook to save some time, but all you need to do is just find one good thing in one of those chests, and there's your time save right there.
Or if you're Edgeworth tonight, you know, 3 good things.
What was it? Masmoon, Ribbon, and 2 Pro Rings?
That's Masamune, Ribbon, and 1 Pro Ring. Where was the second one? One was in Temple of Fiends.
There was another one. Oh, Vampire Chest.
Oh yes, that's. I'm re-nauseated just thinking about it.
Yep, and unfortunately the ruby did not get used.
Oh, we got a Hungry Titan, unfortunately. Excellent. So yeah, definitely check out the if you enjoyed watching that or are interested in checking out the Final Fantasy Randomizer. The creator of the program and Chopper did just link the Final Fantasy Randomizer in there and chat. So it's just FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. It's definitely really interesting.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody for putting on this this marathon. I know High Spirits, BGG, Elmagus, and a lot of the other admins have been putting a lot of time and effort into making sure that this goes off without a hitch, and it's been a great time. I've enjoyed watching it, I've enjoyed running in it, and thanks again for putting this together.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really great content on here, and there's some more interesting stuff to come too. Alright, so I believe next up on the schedule, we've got Legaia 2 coming up, if I'm correct.
Oh, that's going to be nice. I'm definitely sticking around for that.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty sweet run.
Well, maybe I'll make a quick Taco John's run.
Well, don't forget to check the change drawer in your car, because you'll probably find like the Masamune or a $100 bill in there and your luck tonight.
Yeah, that's true. I found the 22,000 gold chest as well.
So well done, guys. My name has been Files, and I was the commentary for this race.
And I'm Edgestream. I was running, and thanks again for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. If you like what you saw, check out the Final Fantasy Randomizer website, and I'm sure any one of us that's involved in the community can hook you up with a Discord link too. We have a very friendly community, and we love teaching new players how to run.
Alright, well that's it for the Final Fantasy Randomizer here, so make sure you stay tuned for some awesome Legaia 2 action coming up real soon.
Thank you very much, Edgestream, for Final Fantasy